Welcome back to another episode of the Wild Ones podcast, the show where we chat about bike stuff. I'm Jimmy, and I'm with Francis and producer Emily. How is everyone doing today, guys?
Good. I have very sore legs, so I decided to run into work instead of cycling in.
Why did you decide that?
Because I can't cycle home because we're meeting someone later.
Yeah.
I have to get an Uber back. So that's why I came in
Uber.
by legs. You can't freewheel. It was annoying. It was too hot.
It's basically downhill you're running to town, which means you can freewheel.
Well, I tried. It didn't work.
Did you know?
No.
I'll teach you how to freewheel downhill whilst running.
Thank you.
I actually did a run the other day as well.
You're good at. You have very good running techers, don't you?
Pro, that's basically ex-pro runner. Not really. How about you, Emily?
Oh, do you know what? I'm feeling so well rested because I bought myself an eye mask and I'm literally having the best night's sleep that I've had in a very, very long time. But not for the reason you might think, because traditionally you would use an eye mask to block out the light, right? But we actually have a very, very dark cave of a bedroom. We painted it all, including the ceiling, a very dark green. So that wasn't the problem. The problem was that in the middle of the night, I kept seeing Mick Hucknell at the end of my bed. What I mean is I kept seeing people at the end of my bed. It wasn't always Mick Hucknell, but it was sometimes, and it genuinely terrified me. And I used to wake Jimmy up being like, ugh, didn't I?
Well, you once did what I referred to, thankfully it was only once, a death scream.
Yeah.
Once upon a time.
That was in our old house. It's been going on quite a while. I'd see people at the end of the bed. So I finally decided to do something about it and invested in an eye mask. And it basically glues my eyes shut, so I physically can't open them anymore. So I can't.
Do you mean when you, for example, I have like a dressing gown and some stuff hanging on a door in my room,
Yeah.
and then when I look at that, sometimes it's a person.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
No, there's nothing there. It's just there's a TV and then there's a door.
The screensaver on the TV.
Mick Hucknell. Just massive Simply Red fan. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. I think it's because the door's there. Bad feng shui, perhaps.
I feel as if the eye mask is a Band-Aid solution.
Probably.
And you should probably work out what's
a deeper
happening
psychological
deeper down.
issue.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, Emily has a theory that dreams mean nothing, so...
Incorrect. I was listening to a podcast about dreams on the way in.
Oh.
They don't mean nothing.
What do they mean?
Well, there's further study that needs to be done to understand them fully, but it's your brain working stuff out.
So where I commented on being a pro runner previously, I am also a pro dream. What would it be called? Interpreter.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Many lives
if you ever want to tell me a dream, I can tell you what it means.
Well, what does mine mean? Why do I see people?
I need to know more. Like if it's just a person, it'll be some kind of fear.
Yeah. Well, I know what the fear is. The fear is I want the door closed and Jimmy wants the door open. So specifically he said so he can hear every part of the house so he knows if there's an intruder in the house. If that doesn't plant a seed, I don't know what does.
So you're blaming me?
Absolutely, I'm blaming
cool.
you. But the eye mask is the saviour. For now, it's fine. And we live in marital bliss. Shall we get into some news?
Let's. First up, pictures of Shimano's latest Groupset have apparently leaked online. So an unreleased drop bar version of Shimano Cubes was spotted in photos shared by Cube Bikes.
Cubes. Shimano Cubes.
What did I say?
Cubes. Shared by Cubes Bikes.
Sorry, Shimano Qs, not Cubes.
So Shimano Qs was spotted online in photos shared by Cube Bikes.
The Groupset is rumoured for release in early 2025, but Shimano haven't yet given any details about it. However, Cube has allegedly let slip early, sharing photos of their 2025 New Road Pro, which features the new Qs. The pictures were spotted by Bike Radar, and the press were calling this a leak, but it's hard to know whether this was actually an intentional strategy by Shimano or Cube to get people talking about them. Cube and Qs is very similar, isn't it? Like
Shimano Cube.
Shimano Cube.
Cubano shoes.
Either way, we now know that there is going to be a drop bar version of Qs and what it probably looks like.
Probably looks like the flat bar one.
So what actually is Qs? Basically, it's Shimano's latest cross-compatible system of 9, 10 and 11 speed components designed to replace every group set below 105. I originally thought that Qs was going to be one group set, but looking into it, it actually looks like it's absolutely massive. There's, funnily enough, I messaged Jonathan, who's the PR guy for Shimano, this morning as I was trying to work out how many mechs there are. We believe, because he's not 100% certain as well, in the current range, which doesn't have a drop bar shifter, there's 11 rear mechs. No, 10 rear mechs.
Why is the PR man for Shimano not sure?
Well, he doesn't need
There's
to
just
know.
that many mechs.
He's basically looked through it. He's actually listed all of the codes and everything.
No one knows.
But it's interesting. So there's 9-speed, 10-speed, 11-speed. It even has a Di2 version of it as well. So it's really interesting to see what happens to this when the drop bar shifter does come out. The range is across, as far as I can tell, all types of bikes. So there's gear ratios and setups which will accommodate a mountain bike, and then it goes all the way to a race bike as well if you want it, to a drop bar race bike. E-bikes, gravel bikes, the absolute works seems to be covered by Qs. They did initially launch Qs in 2023, but as we know, it was a flat bar version of it for hybrids and e-bikes. So what can we actually see in these pictures? The shifters seem to resemble the shape of the older Ultegra /105 shifters. So the ones from about 5 or 6 years ago, which are a bit bulkier, but work perfectly well. We all use them for quite some time and have never had any issues with them. It's got hydraulic brake levers, which seems to fill a gap in the range for a hydraulic brake that is, I guess, more cost effective. I don't know what the correct term for that is. A cheaper version of hydraulic brakes. The rear derailleur that's on the Cube bike has already been released, which reinforces the idea that this is all going to be cross-compatible. The Q's CS LG400 cassette is an 1150 cassette, which is absolutely massive. That is like basically a mountain bike cassette. So it really does feel like this range is going to cover, well, everything you could possibly want to do with a bike. What does this mean for the bike industry and the entry-level market as a whole? What are we thinking?
Overall, a good thing. SRAM has put their focus into performance. Yes, it trickles down from SRAM Red, but only so far. Apex is still a performance level group set, isn't it?
It's expensive, yes.
It's pretty expensive and it's pretty nice. Whereas Shimano are putting a lot of thought into this, and I think it's going to make things affordable.
The reason I think this is actually really good is currently it feels, and I think there's a lot of consumer psychology in this space, in that if you don't get 105, it sometimes feels like it's rubbish or it's budget or it's not very good. And we talk a lot about some group sets that are officially below 105 that are actually really good, but there is this perception that they're not. So I think this is actually a really good branding exercise for Shimano, in that they are ditching multiple group sets which people perhaps don't have a great love for, bringing in something else under a different name that just kind of brings it all together.
Gets rid of the stigma
attached
attached to the other group sets.
And I think it is going to be really good because it's probably based on trickle-down technology. So these are group sets that many of us will have been riding 5 years ago, which we know are mint. I think this is really, really, really good for the industry, and I think it's really, really good for cyclists and us that like to ride bikes. The only scenario where I think this is not going to be good is if they actually start hiking the prices up on it. But I think that would be, I can't imagine they're going to do that. They know they've got their 105, which is their premium but more accessible, like proper racing group set, and they've got their GRX. This has to be coming in at a really, really, really achievable price point, surely.
So we know the price on this Cube New Road Pro. It's a gravel bike, right?
Yeah.
It's £1,200, carbon fork, 11-speed shifting, hydraulic brakes.
Alloy frame, definitely alloy frame.
Yeah, one buy. Does that seem like good value?
Yeah, it's obviously it's still a lot of money. The bike looks like a good bike. If I'm perfectly honest, looking at the pictures of it, it reminds me of the Scott gravel bike that we have in the studio that you bought from Scott. That was £1,900.
That it was £1,800. You're right. That Scott came with the lowest level of GRX, which is the one that's equivalent to 105.
Yeah. So technically had a better group set. Marginally better. It looks very similar. I think that's going to be a good price for that bike.
That's a good value bike. Considering the Specialized Alley right now is £1,000 and you get Claris on it.
Do you?
What calipers does it have?
Like third-party Tektro ones or something.
Hydraulic?
No.
Ah, okay. So then this cube is
Very good value.
much. Obviously, they're not directly comparable,
Yeah.
but because that's a road bike.
Yeah, it's a road bike, yeah.
But that suggests that this bike is a lot better value than that.
That's really good
Specialized.
value. People always talk about, we've never featured cubes in person on the channel. And everyone's like, oh, you probably should, like, they're really good value. So
Yeah, they do appear to be good value.
one day, I will ride one.
Well, we should work out how we can get hold of them.
But it goes back to what you were saying, Jimmy, about the consumer psychology, because as soon as Francis said to me, £1,000 Alley and it's got Claris on, you're like, what? It's those names, Claris, Sora, Tiagra, they have a reputation. You know how everything gets incrementally better, and now 105 is meant to be like premium, right? Whereas I think we think back to a time when 105 was like mid-range at best, and all of the other ones were very, very much in entry level.
What I'm hoping is going to come from this is that the price point on these group sets is going to be low, and it is going to enable the bike manufacturers to start bringing in entry-level bikes that are actually spec'd really well in the 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 pound. Like, bring back good actual entry-level bikes again.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this group set is one of the catalysts for that being able to happen.
It would be good. It would be a great thing for consumers. It would be a good thing for the industry because it's so stagnant, and we're seeing a downturn at the moment. There needs to be some better value.
Agreed.
Hopefully it keeps going in the same direction. In that I recently was researching for a video the first proper road bike that I bought. Proper road bike. A Trek 1.2. And it was 2009. It came with Sora. And I was comparing that to the modern day equivalent. And the group set, despite being 2 rungs lower, is significantly better on the more modern bike. So that it just shows how, like that. Oh, it had Sora on it, the 2009 bike, and it had buttons that you couldn't reach on the drops, and it was really clunky, and it was a triple, and it was just unnecessarily complicated and just not good to this day standard. So hopefully this will be another jump, because we've had the latest Claris has been around for a long time now. So hopefully there'll be another upgrade with a price that reflects it.
Downgrade in price.
A downgrade in price. Price upgrade. Well, it's always a shock to people, isn't it? Because inflation means that things seem more expensive than they are.
Correct. That is what it
People don't always take that into
ultimately,
account when they're looking at the prices.
Next, I've got a wild story for you.
Is this? I'm already scarred from your WhatsApp messages last night because of this. I had to delete them. They automatically save on my phone. Delete.
Do you want to keep those pictures? No. An EF rider who was fired from the team after being caught with human growth hormone now appears to be doing OnlyFans instead. So in June, we covered the story of how 23-year-old Italian pro Andrea Piccolo was stopped and searched by police at the Italian border following a training camp in Colombia. He was arrested, and after being found in possession of human growth hormone, EF Education Easy Post then promptly sacked him and said they'd cooperate fully with the investigation. Andrea later admitted to transporting 4 unspecified substances, but says he's innocent because he never tested positive for any of them. Anyway, the latest news on him is that while his racing career may be over, at least for now, he might just have got himself a new side hustle. It was first reported by Italian media that he's now doing adult content on OnlyFans. I did a bit of digging, and it does appear to be true. The account was set up in August. He also appears to have set up an X account and is posting some incredibly suggestive photos on there with captions like, "Did you call me? I'm coming," tongue face, hot face, and links through to the OnlyFans page. The photos are definitely him. He's got some quite distinctive tattoos. I did some investigative work. It is him. And while this all seems a little bit left field, it's actually not totally random. He's dating a Colombian model and influencer called Valentina Gomez, who's actually been on OnlyFans for a while now. And Andrea has been in some of her X-rated content before. So yeah, no judgment, but a little bit random, I guess. The only thing that we don't know at this stage is whether he's in control of the account or whether someone's uploading pictures without his consent. Hopefully that isn't the case.
Does Cade Media now have a $24.99 charge business expense.
Well, so
That's expensive.
It costs $24.99 a month to look at his content. I can say I didn't look at it. There was a point where I was asking, I was like, could this be a business expense? Can I look? But based on the
Sorry, wait.
Twitter,
The photos you sent me on WhatsApp weren't even from OnlyFans.
they were for free, Francis.
They were free?
They were the free ones. They were the teaser ones.
Bargain.
Yes.
What's on his OnlyFans then?
Well, you'll have to pay $24.99 a month to
Wow.
find out. But it
Worrying.
makes that GCN subscription look like good value, doesn't it?
It depends what you're looking for, to be honest. Perhaps it makes it look makes the GCN subscription look like less value,
GCN subscription should have another tier of the same price of similar content.
where they remake the content but nude.
Yeah, like a Christmas Christmas calendar.
Why don't we do
like
that?
a naked calendar?
We should do that.
Yeah,
Did you know bike mechanic Nick has got an OnlyFans?
No, I did not know that.
where he just wears an apron.
He just wears an apron and strokes bike frames. So if that's your thing,
There is a weird photo of him.
search Nick Vieri that I took in this studio.
Yes.
What happens when I leave?
Only wearing an apron and a dog collar
That was his
and the
decision.
lead. Anyway,
That was his own dog collar he had with him in his pocket.
That SRAM branded one.
no, it is a bit of a jovial, funny story, but in all seriousness, his career's over. He has to make money somewhere. He is a young lad. Hopefully he isn't taken advantage of, because I guess he's in quite a vulnerable situation. And while, I don't condone doping.
We are humans at the end of the day, aren't we?
Yeah. I hope that he's not making a mistake or he doesn't end up in some kind of bad situation out of the back of it.
Yep.
I won't mention names here. This is semi-related and a hypothetical question.
You can't say semi in this scenario.
Someone that we know was offered, I guess due to his online presence, £1,000 for a skin suit that he had worn and had not washed.
Specifically unwashed.
Specifically unwashed. He did not do the exchange.
We don't know he didn't.
Good point. He might have.
I would have done. I would have.
Would you do it?
definitely.
That was
Yes.
the question. Would you do it for
Of course I would.
£1,000?
Why not?
Because then the person would want more. They don't then stop, do they?
£1,000 a pop? Sure. Crack on. Have as many as you want.
Jimmy will wipe his bum on anything and give it to you for £1,000.
If you want some of my gooch, it's yours
Jesus.
for £1,000.
I don't think I would do that, but there's like a lot of people sell feet pics, and I think I would be all right with that. Like as long as my face wasn't in it.
You
just
cannot. Don't
feet.
say that to audiences of thousands of people, because you are going to get inundated with messages.
Do you remember? This is all going to have to be cut. There was this time. Do you remember? Speaking of your bib shorts, do you remember we went bikepacking and in the morning we weren't sure whose kit was whose and we knew one of them was clean
Yeah.
and I smelt
Oh, no.
one of the bib shorts very close and then decided it was clean. I was like, no, it's clean. And then I don't think it was.
But was it yours or was it his?
His.
Yeah, I have a incredibly clean gooch.
Okay.
Everyone, once you've been bikepacking together, you become level 5 friends. So it's fine.
If you watch enough Cade Media videos, you'll know that Francis smells something and then follows it with a tongue.
No,
feel like
only
this
with
is really
like that's
descending.
tires on new shoes or like sticky things that you peel off bikes. You smell them. You just do.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you go "Look," with your tongue, like you did on my bib shorts. It's okay, it's fine.
I did not lick that.
We've all been
short.
there.
We've all been there.
I feel like this has really descended, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to cut.
You choose the
Put
stories,
it all
Emily.
in. Put it all in.
Okay. For clarity, none of us are doing OnlyFans.
But Nick is.
But might do in the future.
We reserve the right. No judgment. Do what you want.
Next, what the hell is going on at Ineos Grenadiers? They appear to be imploding from the inside. Inside.
Would you like me to do it?
I would love you to do
Okay.
it.
Why don't I do it?
Yeah, do it.
Next up, what the hell is going on at Ineos Grenadiers? They appear to be imploding from the inside. That sounds weird.
Are you not?
Actually, wait. Imploding from
You're
the
always
inside.
imploding from the inside.
It's a tautology.
It is a tautology, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They appear to be imploding. Let's change that. Go again.
You should
Next.
put all that in as well, by the way.
Yeah, you should. They appear to be imploding. Firstly, we mentioned in our Tour de France series, well, I didn't because I wasn't on it, how the team's lead DS, Steve Cummings, has been noticeably missing from Grand Tours this year. In fact, he's not been physically present at a race since the Criterium de Dauphiné in June. His name was on the initial start list for last week's Tour of Britain, but he was then removed just before the race began. The same happened at August Deutschland Tour. Meanwhile, their chief aerodynamics whiz, Dan Bigham, has quit, expressing frustration with the management structure, and he told the media, "It's clear as day the team should be doing things a lot better." He's now become head of engineering at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Then Tom Pidcock started openly throwing shade at the team, saying they do not help him to perform optimally. There's rumours of him going to Red Bull as well, although he's still in contract with Ineos until 2027. The Grenadiers are now on course for their least successful season since the team was first created as Sky Pro Cycling in 2010. The team has so far managed 14 wins in 2024, down from 38 in 2023 and 39 in 2022.
Oh, that is a big fall.
Does that count with does that include the gravel national champs win?
Pass, I've got no idea.
Which was up in Scotland, wasn't
I
it?
would have thought it does.
Probably.
Yeah, that is a big fall from grace, isn't it? And as you said earlier, Francis, Red Bull are about to get fast on TT bikes.
Yeah, losing Dan Bigham is a real shame for them. As an aerodynamics expert, he contributed massively, and this is not to take away from how good the riders are as well, to their wins. Like he's made them significantly faster, especially in those TT stages. And you'll notice their TT results are really, really good since they got him on board.
Interesting. Where do they go from here? It feels like they are in their Man United post-Ferguson phase. They had a mega strong team at the helm of Brailsford, and now he's gone, and it's gone a little bit to pot.
But if you look at Ineos versus the current two biggest teams in the world, being UAE and Visma, their structures are just so different now. It's like Ineos are the last of the old breed of cycling team, and they haven't yet caught on because, their peak, their main riders, Ineos's main GC riders are old in the world of professional cycling. The two best teams in the world all have really, really young GC riders. It's just a new type of pro racing. It's evolved into its next phase, and Ineos are behind the times.
Do you think it's teams like Ineos just honouring their older riders and letting them keep their contracts even though it's not the most optimum choice?
They probably have a really expensive payroll and long contracts because it's like legacy stuff from before the new breeders come through, and they will probably what we're going to see is Luke Rowe's gone because he retired. I think Geraint Thomas won't be around for much longer, and he may take a role which is more like grooming younger riders, not in a dodgy way. And I think we'll probably see a really significant shift in how they approach stuff. They're basically clearing house, and they're going to rebuild.
Changing of the guard.
Yes, exactly. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, though, they are throwing everything, aren't they? It feels like they are going to sling some big money at getting Pidcock because they'll obviously have to buy him out of his Ineos contract.
What would that do, though?
They just want everything, and if you look at how they approach sport in other fields, they go, right, we want everything and everyone. We want to be the best.
I understand that, but with all due respect to Tom Pidcock, and I like him a lot as a rider, if they're looking for GC Grand Tour wins, it's not Tom Pidcock.
No, but he
wants it to
wins.
be, though, doesn't he?
He wants it to be, yes.
And he keeps getting not distracted, but he's been focusing on other things, hasn't he?
I have a theory.
Me and Tony talk about this, and we're like, we want him.
Yeah, no, and I do as well. I absolutely do, but I just look at the strength of Pogacar and
but they would get binned in a mountain bike race, wouldn't they?
Totally, absolutely, yes.
But if I was Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, I would want someone like Pidcock, and I would basically go, look, whenever you want to race, you're in.
Yeah, I guess maybe you'd make a good support for someone like Roglic.
And you're guaranteed multiple photos of hands in the air every single year.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's probably enough for the pro sporting analysis for this week, isn't it?
Yeah, what is it? It's Tour de France show.
Yeah. Let's do Fuff Up of the Week.
Okay, so we have a clarification on the classified TRP group set that we spoke about last week. So there was some dispute over whether it was actually a 1x16 group set, which is what all of the news websites are actually calling it. What it actually is the classified rear hub is essentially a front mech, and it never gets referred to as that for some reason. So you can actually run this new TRP system in two ways. A traditional 2x24 group set. So essentially 12-speed cassette at the back, and then use the classified hub as a front mech, which basically doubles those 12. Or the TRP system does the electronic calculations for you, in which case you never have to shift the front mech, or in this case, the rear hub. So you can go from the smallest cog to the biggest cog just by pressing it up, and it will shift 16 times.
So it makes it an effective 1x, doesn't it?
With some massive clunks in the middle, just like Shimano Synchro Shift.
So the interesting thing about this that they're calling Quantum Shift, which is a terrible name, is Di2 and ETAP have been doing it for years. There is nothing new about what they're doing here, as far as I can tell.
With the book, like they get a lot of flack for outrageous marketing claims and the efficiency thing, and this is another example. Just say it's a front mech and a rear wheel. It's good enough. It's good.
It's understandable.
It's a cool idea
as well.
Just sell it as that. Loads of people going to use it. Some people are going to use it because it's aero.
I don't know exactly what the gear ratios are they're setting up. They are claiming that if you set up this new system with an 1140 cassette, you have a gear range of 530%, which to nearly everyone that rides bikes means absolutely nothing. I did Google gear range of Shimano stuff, and it does appear to be a higher percentage.
It's just
on
because
the classified stuff, but
it's just the jumps in between the two gears that they give you on the classified hub is a bigger jump than on a 2x chain set. That's all it is.
Yes, that makes sense.
So just say that.
We also, I think I said that I read something that suggested it was, ultimately I read the copy last week too quickly. And I think I said that it has 14 unique gears. That is actually, I think Shimano has 14 unique gears on one of their setups. The classified TRP has 16 unique gears on the road setup, 15 unique gears on the gravel setup versus 14 unique gears on the Shimano stuff, I think. But when you're riding a bike, when you're on the big ring or the little ring, you don't really care about whether they're unique or not unique. You just ride it. It doesn't really mean anything, in my opinion.
Well, some people seem excited for it, so...
I'm excited for it. I'd ride that group set.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea.
Also, Mohoric. Time for another round of overrated or underrated. I'm going to read out a list of things, and you're going to tell me if they are overrated or underrated.
Yeah, I'll do this.
Thank you.
First up, SPD pedals. No. Fuck's sake.
Can you fit all of these in?
First up, SPD sandals, sent in by Mike, who says, I compete in multiple Gran Fondo events a year. Without fail, there's always one participant wearing clipless sandals with socks. They look like Tiva sandals, but clip into SPD pedals. Overrated or underrated?
I was just going to very confidently say underrated. But I think big flat pedals with trainers is going to be as good.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because if you're using ultimately, I'm assuming that if you're using an SPD sandal, it's going to be super flexy. In which case, it's basically the same as a trainer. So you would have to use a pedal system that has a big enough platform that you're actually getting like lots of foot perchage on it. In which case, you may as well just not have the cleat and just wear flats. Which is, in my opinion, definitely underrated. Pedals and trainers.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
Yeah. I asked Chris Hall about this. Adventure cyclist Chris Hall, he has some. I think he was given some Shimano ones for free. He said, I think they're probably underrated, actually. People look at them and just don't like them, but for touring, they potentially be quite good. They're not stiff at all, though, so you'd want a pedal with a wider surface. Not the best looking. Cool factor is very low.
Some people will think they're cool.
I actually do think they're cool, though. I'm at the point where I'm like, I kind of want a bit of that.
You said just go flat pedal with trainer. I'm assuming people who are wearing sandals is because they want some airflow or they want the feeling of wearing a
But
sandal.
then they put socks on.
Yeah.
But well, ultimately, what I'm getting at is a large
Yeah.
platform, flat pedal with any kind of shoe.
But if you wore a sandal with that, is there not chance that you potentially whack your toes and stuff like that? If I was going to wear a sandal, I'd almost want it to be clipped in to avoid like...
The best argument for them having a cleat would be if you were riding somewhere that was really wet and you want to increase a bit of grip.
Yeah.
And not get flat pedals that have like big mountain knobblies on, just like normal flat ones. You would get more grip with a clipless.
I feel like it's probably one of those things where if you like them, you like them. It's never going to be a mass market thing. If they work for you, then...
Well, I recently, for our holiday this year, I bought a pair of sandals for the first time in my life. And sandals are not really me. And now I have a pair of nice sandals. I actually quite like them.
Yeah.
So I could see myself using sandals for riding bikes.
I've seen you wear socks with those as well.
I have, yep.
It's all about the slider. Because the flip-flop is painful on your toes. Sandal, nah, I'm not going to wear those. Sliders, a good fitting one, which is like tight on the top of your foot.
You always walk badly in a slider,
You
though.
do. My mother's a
yeah.
chiropodist, and she would say, "Don't do the slider. You need to have a back strap to have proper
I
foot
do
support."
value your mum's opinion.
Next one. This lot actually was suggested by Andrew in Vermont. First one, titanium mech hangers. He says, "I feel like the point of a mech hanger is to bend/break and to not damage your frame. I would think that something as strong as titanium would counteract that. Am I mistaken?"
I did a tiny bit of research.
Oh,
and
that's not like us.
there appears to be 5 or 6 grades of titanium. I think bikes are typically made with like 5 and 6, which are like super, super tough. Grade 1 titanium is relatively soft as metals go. So as long as the mech hanger is made from a lower grade titanium, or I think it's actually a purer titanium, it is soft enough. Like we've got a titanium spork, and it is very, very, very soft. You can properly bend it. So it ultimately comes down to what grade of titanium is it being made from. It could be a good mech hanger material.
Why would people choose titanium? Because it's light?
The reason to not choose titanium is it's
Expensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's just made of alloy, then it's
Companies
gonna be much
make
cheaper.
these fancy looking ones with all bits and holes and things drilled out and stuff. Didn't Silca do one? Maybe. I would be inclined to just use the mech hangers made by the frame company that your frame is from.
Yep.
Fair. So overrated.
Overrated.
Yep. Next one, bleeding your brakes regularly. Andrew says, "I've had hydraulic disc brakes for a few years now and haven't bled the brakes. They still feel fresh. Am I just getting lucky, or is this just something that isn't actually a problem?"
I've never gone years without destroying my bike from crashing it, destroying my bike from putting it in a bike box, destroying it from it
Doing
being
some
run over.
mechanics.
Yeah, doing mechanical stuff. I break everything. I have always had to have my brakes bled multiple times a year.
I think if you've gone years and they're fine, you don't need to do anything. Excellent. You have been fortunate. Thinking about Emily's Topstone, your Topstone, that might have never been bled, and that's done a lot of miles, and you've had it for a long time, and it just works really well. The pads have been changed on that as well, and it just hasn't need bleeding. I guess sometimes a system is just locked in and just works, and all the conditions and everything mean it just works really well. You definitely don't need to, if they're working fine, don't mess with them because
you bleed them now. If you do bleed them now, the fluid will just be black that comes out. But if it's working,
well, I kind of think in this scenario he's going to be like, "Oh, get them bled." They'll get bled, and then all of a sudden there'll be
loads of problems.
every 3 weeks. They're going to need redoing,
Yeah.
and then it'll be like, right, just replace them. It'll be like, oh god,
If it ain't broken, don't fix it, but just check them before you go down a big hill, maybe.
yeah.
Right, last one. Drinking soda mid/post ride.
What, like baking soda?
No, like fizzy drinks.
I was
Pop.
I was joking. It was a joke. It was a bad joke. Okay.
underrated.
Yeah, you're a big fan of a...
Yeah, I drink. If I could be on a drip, Coca-Cola, I would.
Do you remember when we used to
Yes.
go... You know what I'm going
I
to
know
say?
exactly where this is going. Tell a story.
That made it sound like it's not that great a story. But when we used to go to the triathlon camp in France, we used to do a big ride, and they used to stop at a cafe. you only had about 20k left or something of the ride by that
There
point,
wasn't
didn't you?
loads
There wasn't a
left,
lot
no, yeah.
left. You could get a Coke, but the rule was if you got a Coke, you had to get another Coke to then take with you for the last bit so you didn't have a sugar rush and then bonk.
Yeah.
Oh, how would you carry it?
In your bin. So
No.
you used to tell everyone to put.
See,
put your
that's
Cokes
where
in
it starts
your bins.
going wrong, because unless you shake it loads, and even if you do this, it still goes wrong. You shake it loads, trying to get all the carbonation out of it, and then put it in a bottle, and then you ride for about 4 seconds, and then it starts going,
Yeah. Spitty.
and then it starts putting sugar all over your frame and then you go sticky.
No, just
And
wash
then
it.
you sell your skin suit to that man.
Just wash it.
I wonder if that was because we were sat at the cap, because it was a massive group of you. If you got served first, you'd maybe have your Coke and then be sat there for half an hour before you then left again. So perhaps the sugary effect had worn off, and then you'd then be
It does get you do crash
yeah.
hard if you've drank a lot of Coke in there.
Yeah.
But
If I was going to like neck a big bottle of Coke, I would be thinking, because of Mark Shaw and our previous experience, I'd be like, I should probably put some of that in my bottle. I've actually diluted Coca-Cola in a bottle before as well to get some of the fizz out.
Yeah, I think I'd always just prefer to have a chewy sweet, just fill my stomach up a little bit.
Pros do it a lot. I've been on a few training camps, and there's always, the mini cans of Coke that they use as mixers. They sell them with, at the front of the supermarket, the gin and tonic section and things like that. Vodka, little Cokes. They always give those out.
Little Cokes.
Top of climbs and things like that.
Nice.
Down our
It's a
way.
different thing though, isn't it? Because what they're essentially doing is going, we need to make sure we've got loads of carbohydrates in us, fast carbohydrates or fast sugars, so that we're fueling to train as best as we possibly can. And yes, that is the sort of stuff that we're doing. And I think the whole point of the challenge with it is, if you haven't been if you've done a 3 hours of bike ride and you haven't eaten enough, and then you slam a bottle of Coke full of sugar, your body's going to have this huge dump, and then it's going to have a big fat crash. So you have to maintain that. Whereas what the pros are doing is, from the start, they're maintaining this high blood sugar level.
Yeah. Small breakfast, start eating straight on the bike.
Yeah.
So what we saying, overrated or underrated?
Underrated, because fizzy drinks are nicer than water in plastic bottles.
Underrated. Again, it's like, what, do you want another gel or a little Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola.
Thank you for your suggestions. If you want to make a suggestion for overrated or underrated, please send them to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk, and we might read yours out in a future episode. Shall we do listeners' takeover?
Yes, let's. Oh, I will read this one. This is an email from Dan. He says, "Hi all. I've been riding for a few years now on 2 alloy entry-level bikes, a Halford's Carrera and a Cannondale Cad 8.
Ooh, Cad 8. That's a spicy bike.
Both have generally done me well and have taught me very basic maintenance skills, the importance of a bike fit, and about component choices. I've decided that I'd like to get a bike fit and then build a new race bike myself. I'm thinking a carbon fibre frame with mid-level components. My worry is that I've never built a bike before, nor have I worked with carbon fibre, electric group sets, or done maintenance on every part of a bike before. Naturally, I'm concerned about spending a large amount of money, which will most likely be upwards of 5k for everything, and damaging/breaking the components. Is it a sensible idea to try and build a bike from scratch with my lack of experience and knowledge? Either way, what's the best way to learn? Thanks, guys. The podcast is amazing."
That is a fantastic question, and unfortunately has a lot of angles to the answer.
My first question to him would be, are you patient? Because no amount of skill will compensate for a lack of patience.
Ooh.
I'm
And
speaking from experience.
Yeah.
the case study for that is, you once upon a time had an actual bike mechanic certificate.
I still have it, thank you very much.
Well, you technically still have it, yes. It hasn't been updated, so you don't know. You haven't been taught modern technology. But the funny
true.
thing about that is,
Pre-DI2 and hydraulic brakes.
it isn't hydraulic brakes or DI2 that's your problem. It's turning.
Any screw or bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything I touch just falls apart or snaps, explodes. I put a Garmin mount on the other day, and the bolt went through hydraulic hose.
God.
That's not even possible
Yeah,
by
yeah,
anyone
it's
else.
like
Like
it's
no
never
one else
happened
could
to
do
anyone
that.
before.
You couldn't. No one could recreate that apart
Yeah.
from you. You could definitely do it exactly again. So I used to build all of my own bikes, and I used the internet and YouTube to learn how to do it. This is pre electric gears and pre-hydraulic brakes, and it is super, super easy. You just need to get an okay quality toolkit, which costs about 30 quid, which is probably 150 quid now. And it was just very easy to do. However, I don't think I would bother doing it anymore.
It's going to work out more expensive than buying a bike, but people like tinkering with things, and it's a learning experience.
Yes. It is very much, it is doable. I've watched, so I've made build videos on the little weird YouTube channel that I've got with Nick Vieri. I've seen him build in great detail something like 70 bikes, like watched every single bit of it and then edited a video for hours and hours and hours. So I know how to build bikes, modern bikes, from watching it, and I could do it, but it's just so fiddly and awkward, and I know I'd end up cutting the hose in the wrong place and then having to spend 70 quid to buy a new hose set, and all of the little internal bits and pieces require different adapters here and different adapters there, and he just opens a drawer because he's got 5 billion of them just lying around. That's the thing,
isn't it?
And I would then have to go to the internet for 4 hours to be like, right, which one fits this bike? I don't know, there's 15 options, and then you spend 100 quid on getting all of them and they're still all wrong. It's, if you can tolerate all of that, then it's achievable.
That happens more with modern parts, more with hydraulic discs than anything else, doesn't it? Because back in the day, it was a brake caliper just fit a bike.
But the shocking thing is, this isn't even long ago. I'm talking like less than 10 years ago. And it'll be little things like you'll put your rotors on the wheels, you put your wheel into the frame, and the little cap bit that screws the rotor on will be the wrong one, and it won't fit in the frame, and then you'll have to go and buy another one. It'll be like a flush one
instead of, yeah.
All that said, it can be done. As Francis put it perfectly, you need a lot of patience, and you will definitely end up having to buy adapters and different parts that you haven't considered.
Well, if the goal is a race bike, the only solution here is you just spend £5,000 on a set of Envies for the Cade 8. And you won't be able to because it's rim brake.
Yeah.
So you go on eBay, loads of people are selling their Envies and Zips cheap. Buy some of those and then buy some other really expensive carbon stuff to put on it.
So if looking at this, if we assume, so the Cade 8 is definitely rim brake, the Carrera is potentially rim brake. If this guy has not had any experience with modern disc brakes, if he's spending $5,000, it's definitely going to be hydraulic. That is a very big shift in technology in terms of maintenance versus a alloy rim brake bike. It's a big. It's if he hasn't experienced it and spent time around it, it's like almost alien.
Yes,
they look similar. They're just not. I am, and this is again why it's such a complicated answer. What I am absolutely gifted by is knowing bike mechanic Nick Vieri. He is like the perfect bike shop for me because he does 100% custom builds. So I can go into Nick and I go, right, I want to buy a new road bike. This is how much money I've got. These are the things that are important to me. And he will start putting together all of these like options from different frame manufacturers and different group sets and blah, 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 blah. And then I can then pull the trigger on something that is not bespoke, but customly built around what I want. And rather than getting something off the peg and then wanting to change stuff. And I just don't think you end up paying more for that either. I think there's this misconception that if you're paying a bike shop to put a custom build together, you're going to spend a fortune on it. And I don't think that's true because they want to make a good deal and they want you to keep coming back so that you buy more stuff off them.
The thing is as well, 5K is a good budget.
Yeah, that's incredible budget.
Yeah.
Like I know if I went to Nick and I said, can you build me a road bike for 5K? It's going to be absolutely mint. Mm-hmm. Yes, you then have to consider maintenance and getting things fixed if you don't want to go down the route of bleeding your own brakes and buying a bleed kit and buying fluids that are compatible with your system and all of that kind of stuff. But
that's not that expensive.
What, bleed kits and fluids? It's going to be 50 quid still though, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe, but it's not that much.
Well, it's still quite a lot of money.
It's $5,000 budget. And you've got it forever. And if you have earwaxy ears, you can use the syringes to blast the earwax out your ear.
Do not do that.
It is all achievable. I guess I've got to a point where it's so fiddly and pernickety now that I don't personally, I have no interest in it.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because you have both experienced building your own bikes and the joy and the sense of accomplishment and the skills that you learned from doing that. But you were able to do that at a time where bikes were just less complicated.
I liken it actually to cars. I was using this analogy the other day when we were talking to someone, is that cars 20 years ago, like the cars that my mother had when I was a kid, my grandfather used to service and I used to help out. There was actually a time when I was about 12 years old and I changed the spark plugs and the air filter on my mother's car literally without supervision. Like, what crazy parenting is that I was allowed to do that on a car? You couldn't do that now on a car. And I think the same thing applies to bicycles.
I thought you just got an engine remap like in Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I did, but on a modern car, not an old car. The old car probably didn't have a computer that you could remap. And the same thing ultimately applies with bikes, is that they are much more complicated now, and it's got to a point where it's complicated enough that I don't care about it anymore. I just want someone else to do it for me. That doesn't mean that it can't be done. Oh, maybe he should start with a bike he's already got. If his CAD 12 is a rim brake bike, get on YouTube, look for some videos on like strip down service on rim brake bike, strip the CAD 12 to nothing, put new cables on it, fully rebuild it, clean everything, and see. What did I say?
12.
CAD 12, CAD 8. I had a CAD 12. That's what I was thinking about that. Just start on that and see how pleasant or unpleasant that experience was. If you do that and you're like, yeah, no bother, then start researching the difference between that and hydraulic stuff. YouTube is probably likely to be the source of good knowledge and learning for this stuff.
Could it be that you could do a bit yourself and then take it to a bike shop, or do they hate that?
Someone like Nick would hate that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of bike shops wouldn't care.
So you could do everything except potentially the hydraulic brakes.
Well, actually, where it gets complicated then is, for example, if the hoses aren't in, they potentially going to have to undo something you do.
Yeah.
So the hoses will go in before the mechs go on and the crankset and the BB go in and all that kind of stuff. So there's stuff that happens first. So like the brake system is done, a bit is done at the beginning, then some other stuff goes on, and then a bit is done later on. It overlaps, unfortunately.
You could approach a local bike shop and do some covert work experience there so you can understand. Work for them for free so that you can understand how to do it. And then when you have enough knowledge, then do it for yourself.
But there'll definitely be shops. There'll be some shops that do like a maintenance class.
Sigma Sports used to run one.
Yeah.
I know Nick has talked about doing one for ages.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good place. Speak to some local bike shops and see which ones do a bike maintenance course. The chances are they're going to be, if they are, they're probably a really good shop to get in with, and will probably be really good to go, I've got $5,000 to spend, and they'll come up with something amazing for you.
Well, good luck, Dan.
That was a long answer. I did say it was going to be, though.
So the next one is from Ryan. He says, "Hi guys, I've been following your content for over a year now. At the time, I was having fit issues with my road and gravel bikes. I'm 5'2", and the only thing I could find was a Pinarello. After hearing Jimmy mention his custom bikes and seeing several bike fit videos, I decided to schedule an appointment with a local bike fitter. I had a 47cm Trek Amonda SL6 at the time and started to get saddle sores and back issues. 5 minutes into the process, my bike fitter said my gravel and road bikes were too big in almost every aspect. I mentioned I was looking into going down the custom route, and my local bike shop works with a small company out of Colombia called Scarab Cycles. Long story short, he worked with them, he got himself a custom steel bike fully integrated with an electronic group set, and he ends his email by saying it was an incredible experience. And I'd like to say thank you for your videos. They helped me make this decision, as it was kind of scary one with people talking crap about steel frame bikes. I couldn't be happier, and some of that credit goes to you guys. Love the pod and videos. Keep them coming. And he included a little picture of his bike, which looks sick.
Nice one,
so
Ryan.
good.
That bike is properly mint. Like properly mint.
Do people talk crap about steel bikes?
Well, people just go, oh, it's heavy, it's rubbish, it's heavy, it's rubbish. It's not. Like, steel bikes can be made really light.
A heavy bike can ride fantastically well. A light bike can ride terribly.
But also a steel bike
all the
can
other
be a
ways.
very light bike.
And a steel bike can be pretty light as well.
Yeah, that is an absolute mint bike. That is an amazing story. That bike looks so good.
The more we talk about custom bikes, the more I feel I'm being influenced. everything is telling me to get a custom bike. He's 5'2".
You're far enough down your bike journey that it's like if you're riding lots.
Do you know what
It's kind
I'm
of money you'd
scared
spend.
of?
Yeah.
Doing it and not liking it. Because I would feel
It's a
more
big
upset about
commitment.
that than just buying one off the peg and not liking it.
Yep.
I have had multiple custom geometry bikes, and I love them all. The interesting thing is the geometry on this bike looks kind of similar to the video you did with Giles. The back, it's got a sloping top tube which allows this much smaller triangle to exist. That bike looks absolutely amazing, and it is a
two
really
bottle
good.
cages.
It's a really good testament to what can be done with a good bike fit and a custom-made bike.
It's a shame that it's necessary.
It is.
Well, he could have got a Pinarello.
He could have got a Pinarello.
I could get one too, but I don't
Then
want
not
one
everyone
in.
wants a Pinarello.
No,
and
agreed.
it's limiting, isn't it?
It is.
And with custom, you can change the bottom bracket drop. So it's probably a more stable and nicer riding bike.
Well, thank you very much for that email, Ryan. Please keep sending your emails, stories, suggestions and fun stuff to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk.
That's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you are following on the podcasty stuff and subscribing on the YouTubey stuff. And we will see you at the next one. Thanks, guys.
Yay.